Hello everyone. I made this video of jelly printing, but it went on for an hour, more than an hour actually, and I prattled an awful lot and I couldn't decide what papers to use, and then I went off at one point to try and find my swan's feather, and then near the end I went off to tidy up and wash my hands before I took the last pull. So all in all, I decided the best thing to do was to speed it up and talk over it. This first print, um, I ended up with lots of dots on it, I think just because it was so dry. But then the following pulls were fine. We didn't end up with the dots. So I think it's been a while since I've done any jelly printing, and I think it was maybe just um, there was dots on it. This is hysterical. I forgot to take the mask off, the stencil off. I still got something, but I forgot to take the stencil off before doing the print. How stupid was that? Anyway, um, and there wasn't really much of it left behind. I also picked up the wrong colour and I ended up using this very dark brown. And I don't know why it never dawned on me until the end that I meant to pick up the pomegranate and use the pomegranate, which is a kind of richer. It's a more pinky terracotta colour maybe. Um, so yes, I'm using two jelly plates. So here's the second jelly plate coming in. I was using that as a palette to start with, but then I thought I wanted that other one to dry, so I thought I'd just use that one, which is usually what ended up happening. This wee jelly plate was the first jelly plate I ever had, and I very soon decided I wanted a bigger one. So I managed to get hold of that bigger one, which I don't think you can get any longer. I think the A4 is about the biggest size you can get, but the bigger one's bigger than A4. This big bubble wrapper always comes up really nice. I love it when something comes in. I get very excited when something comes in it because it always prints very nice. But we're doing a wee swap around back onto doing this one. And one of the other reasons I decided that I would talk over this is that the camera positioning isn't brilliant. At the end, I'm going to run through all the prints and you'll see all the prints. I end up doing a lot of overprinting on that bit of atlas page. And I will show you all the prints. I got a couple of crackers, but I'll show them all at a slower pace with the camera not right on top of the jelly plate. I don't know, I was obviously away finding something at this point because I'm not doing anything. Might know what I went away to find once something happens. I would have even cut this bit. Oh, right, I went away to go into my other box to get something, and here, this is, as you can see, it's the covering that comes on a plug when you get a plug, and it makes the most fabulous shape for printing. Um, and I got tired and just started doing it all over the place. Which is something. If it was something in particular I had in mind, I might have done it the whole way down as a pattern. But I didn't have anything in mind for it, so I just thought I'm just going to do that. Anyway, on we go. We're going to now lift this particular one, which is the big bubble wrap, and this gets lifted. And this actually works quite well. This one, here we go. Nope, a bit more. And that was on a bit of note paper. And I don't know. Oh, right. Yes. Now I did this a couple of times. I love using bits of corrugated card because I love the line making. I love mark making. Mark making's my big passion in all kinds of things. The squares were, it's a blister pack for Rennies. Um, and that was quite nice. I then ended up overprinting that, and I was sorry I overprinted that particular one, but this um, dry. I don't know if it's the lights. It's cold enough here for it not to be drying. I don't know if it's the lights that were making it dry, but everything was drying so quickly. But then not drying quickly enough in other instances. Could be it's a while since I've done it, and it could be I just was over. I know there's a couple of points when I was definitely overlaying the paint too thickly. Anyway, do you do much jelly printing? Do you like jelly printing? Do you go through phases? I go through phases of it. And this blue is gorgeous, isn't it? I go through phases of it, and then you end up with loads of stuff that you have to try and use, and then you end up having to go back and you never quite have what you want. This paper is went quite, it's thin paper anyway, it's like newsprint paper, but you see it ended up being quite wrinkly on the plate, but I like it when it does that because you end up with these fabulous marks because you get the folds in the newspaper and you end up with another print off it as well. You get the same kind of effect using tissue paper, but unless you use the wet strength tissue paper, you really do run the risk of your tissue paper um, tearing. This next print that's coming off, it's on 230 GSM card, and oh, I love it. It's one of my favourite prints ever on the Gelli plate. Um, and that's what happens. You end up with these lucky things that happen from time to time. This is the cup that you get your carry out drinks, and sometimes just one of the sections, and it makes a fabulous print as well. Um, and I just love these things. That was not a good contrast colour, Kirsten. That's why that didn't come up very well. Now I'm seeing it again. This doily that I tried to print on just ended up a mess. It really did end up a mess. Sometimes I just wonder why I bothered trying to do anything with doilies because I never seem to be able to get the doily. Now, what happened here was that paint, even though I'd given the paints a good shake, that paint still had some of that medium, the oily medium that is mixed in with the pigment, and it was you remove it because it just weakens down your paint. I love these stamps. I think I show you them all in a wee while. These stamps are really good, but I think it was that paint that wasn't brilliant underneath meant I didn't get a very good pull on that. So I've gone back onto the big plate again and put on way too much paint on that. This is when I go looking for a swan feather. I'm going to disappear now for a while as I look for a swan feather, as you do. Well, I've got a whole load of swan feathers. There we go, which were all over a bank once. I think a fox or something maybe have got a swan at one point. The fox would have been doing well to get a swan, but it just makes these fabulous marks, and wait till you see the print that comes off that because it's a cracking print that comes off that. And now I've fallen right off the bottom of the screen as I decided to use these cards. I've got these mini playing cards. I've gessoed them already for something else, and then I just thought, oh, I've got those cards there. I'm going to jelly print them, and I love them. I think they worked really well. I wish I'd had more of them all gessoed and I'd have done the whole plate of that. Oh, there we go. I'm showing you now. Of course, it's now too fast to show you. See what you. They are Baker Ross, I think they are. But it's good with all the different. But it didn't really come up. There's a tiny little bit that comes up, but it doesn't really come up. It doesn't really show. But I still liked that final sheet. What am I doing now? I'm now changing to something else. Honey brown this is. That's too thick as well, Kirsten. Oh, and we've gone back to these. I do love these. So it's really worth anything that's kind of got a quirky shape. It's really worth just grabbing and trying on your jelly plate, or even just in paint. I think we used to do these things as children and we forget, even us crafters forget sometimes we can still do them as adults. And this one, yeah, it's a mess. Basically, it's a mess. So let's get some more down on there. And we've got that going. What goes next? Oh, yes, I decided I wanted to try the lines again because the last one hadn't worked. So there's the lines. There's my Rennie pack because I just love that. I'm going to have to try and do that again better because that still doesn't come up very well. Excuse the clock. And this is again is a fabulous pull. I used some braille paper. This is the other pull that I really loved. I used some braille paper. Using the braille paper down. Oh, first of all, I pulled it up. Sorry. First of all, I pulled it up again with another sheet of thin. This is tissue paper this time rather than the other paper. But again, you get that crunkly. Then I put down the seafoam colour, and that goes down, and I use this braille paper. And the braille paper, you've got the raised dots or you've got the indentation. And the raised dots are up the way, that's what I'm rubbing. So it's the indentations that are down the way. So when you pull up the print, you've got dots on there, which is where the ink hasn't, and you've got the dots left on your jelly plate. So you get another print of them, of the dots. And I do this on the map page to get the two different things, part on the bit that was already printed and part on the bit that was just map, and the dots come out really well. You see that clearer in the final video at the end. This one here I'm going to put over with this chartreuse because why not? And I'm going to try and salvage and there's probably always a reason why you're thinking I'll salvage this doily by putting on statues. Nothing was going to salvage this doily. It might be good if I tear it to parts. That's probably what will end up being done. I tear it into bits. I then put over some of this pomegranate. That was the pomegranate I meant to pick up right at the very beginning. And I leave that to dry a bit as I tidy up. Now what you will see at one point is I come back and I drip 2 drops of water on this pomegranate, which wasn't very smart at all. But, you know, come back with dry hands, Kirsten. Don't come back and then lean across. See, drip, drip. And then I go to pull this up and it's refusing to come up because it's over dried. So I spritzed it. This is paper that was thicker than tissue paper, but kind of tissue paper, and it lifted some of it up, which was quite incredible. Last pull. I'm going to give you a quick run through of what I've got here. And you can tell I've tied it up, even got my rings back on again. These were the 3 cards, so I quite like them. Need to get the back of them done. This was the first pull I did, which was the numbers, which is, it's okay. And this was the one with the giant bubble wrap. I'm really pleased with this one because these bits, I didn't know what the gel plate was playing at, but I'm really pleased with those little dots in this one. It kind of gives it more aged quality. This one I should have left it alone. I preferred it as it was, but hey ho, that happens. This was my drop sheet. Can you see the paint was starting to pull off again? This was that last one that I wet to get it off, and I'd put it round the wrong way, but actually now this is alright, but I kind of like this bit here, and my fault, never mind. I think I might use that side rather than that side. We'll see what it ends up being used for. This is a mess, but then I usually get at least one that's a mess and I really don't like at all. This I do like. I love the way it's come off, and you've got these kind of patches. This is going to sound a bit bizarre. It kind of reminds me of a blue giraffe. This one is probably one of my favourites, if not my favourite of all time. Love how this one turned out. Love the different layers of colour in it. Love the fact we've got these creases from that other paper coming through. Even love this grungy bit round the outside that kind of tells the story of older pulls. I'm going to have to think very carefully what I'm going to do. I'm quite glad this ended up being on a bit of, I think it was 120, 130. It feels hard, it might be 150 even. But quite glad about that. Like this one as well. That's just, yeah. And actually now this one's dried, you can see that this patterned stamp did actually come out, although it seems to be only that one that's really come out there. This was the one I put down the wrong way, but actually I like the fact you can still see, you know, the dots of the braille through it, and I love the mark making on here that was done with the feather, and this one that was then became the second pull from that one. No, this is the one that became the second pull from that one, wasn't it? Because this was the first pull. That was the first pull. Let's do them in the right order. That was the first pull, and I love that. I love with all the feather mark making. And then this was the second pull to lift up the remainder of this purple. And then we get the blue, but because I put this down the wrong way, instead of the dots out, I put the dots in. I then ended up with a further pull that has all the dots in it. And I love the fact I managed to get that, and I love the fact we still got some of the purple still even coming through and being picked up there. And this turned this piece, which was a bit of a meh, into something really quite cool. So these are all my bits from that bit of jelly print making. Which is your favourite one? That one's definitely my least favourite. I think all the rest of them, even this drop sheet, will end up getting used somewhere, somehow. But the doily, nah, maybe not. Might be able to save it. Sometimes you can save things that you think will never be able to be saved. Thanks for watching. Keep crafting.